Yo, I wasn't even gonna make a video today, but it just came to me, and now I gotta make this video. If you hold any extreme opinions on anything, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. If you are a misogynist like me, you're wrong. If you are a misandrist like plenty women, you're wrong. If you are extremely right, you're wrong. If you're extremely left, you're wrong. If you are extremely into keto, you're wrong. If you're extremely into high carb, low fat, you're wrong. You understand? If you are too far on the extreme of something, you're wrong. You have been purposefully propagandized by whatever group, and you were wrong. Now it is time to look at your behavior, reassess yourself, and move forward and do better. What spurred this thought is because so originally the FDA, they demonized fat. They demonized fat for decades. They were like, yeah, fat will get you fat. Fat will kill you. Fat will clog your arteries, and to an extent. But what they did in that meantime is they propped up sugar. They propped up carbs. They propped up any carbohydrate. So you had people eating bread for breakfast, rice and shit for lunch, and then dinner was pasta. Oh, so that sentence sounded amazing. So you had these people who were too far on the pro carbohydrate side, and their health and their health basically suffered as a result, because well, not but it's common knowledge now that you need fats in order to survive. I mean, if you look at your brain, you just look at the contents of your brain. Your brain is 70% lipid. A lipid is fat. A lipid is the scientific term. So your brain is 70% fat. Yeah, you don't need fat in your diet. Even with guys, we need cholesterol. We need fat. We need fat because cholesterol is the precursor to testosterone. So there was this whole like, oh, cholesterol bad, cholesterol. No, cholesterol's not necessarily bad. You have to look at which type of cholesterol. Is it HDL or is it LDL? You have to look at that, and you have to look at all these different things. I'm not going to get into too deep into that because that's not the purpose of this video. But you have to look at your extreme opinions and realize that you have been propagandized, you know, because our brains are very reductive. They're reductive machines. They see a bunch of information and they boil it down, scrape all the fat off, and take it to its smallest point so we can understand it, because it's hard for the brain to understand concepts such as like truth, justice, you know, strength. It's hard to understand those concepts. So we have to boil things down, shed all the fat, and really get to the nitty-gritty. We have to get to that deep part in order to understand. So why I say this? Because these extremists, these extreme ideas, these extreme beliefs feed into that mode of thinking. But that's not a good mode of thinking. That's very default, you know? If I defaulted my thoughts to all, like, if I just listened to all my default thoughts and, you know, actually went through with them, I'd be a fucking, I don't know, drug addict, sex addict. Like, I'd just be a fucking degenerate. But you have to avoid simply using your default settings, you know? Default settings are there, but you have to navigate the default settings in order to play the game right. So with extreme opinions, they get to that extreme part of your brain, because, like, okay, what can I think of? With misogyny, you know, because I said I was a misogynist. I'm really not. I love women. I love everybody. But let's say you paid a meal for a woman, and she didn't like reciprocate, like, as in, like, she was just a bad, like, you weren't enjoying your time with her, and at the end of the night you didn't even get sex. Then you see online that somebody said, like, oh yeah, all women want to do is leech off of you, blah 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 blah. Then because it validates your one experience, then you're like, fuck, maybe that's right. And then you get into this extremist corner, you back yourself into that corner because you're like, oh yeah, that validates that one thing. And then, you know, we're also like social creatures. So when you see a bunch of other people perpetuating an idea, and that idea somewhat relates to a situation that you are going through, then your brain is like, oh, maybe they got a point, because we're social creatures. So if you see other people operating one way, then you're going to want to operate that way as well. I mean, not everybody can be, you know, an independent dynamo like me. Not everybody could be. That hurt. Not playing. But, you know, not everybody could be a very independent person. So you have to watch where the information you're receiving is coming from, and you also have to dissect it so you don't fall into extremist views, because it's so easy. Like, you know, I brought up the thing about fats being demonized in the past, and now we've gone to the opposite end of the spectrum. Now we have Ketotards basically swearing on their life that keto is the best thing for life, but what they don't realize is that it's not. Like, keto is great if you want to lose weight. You know, it's a short term, it's a fad diet, it's a crash diet. You lose weight in the short term, so you think it's like a good diet. But then months later, as a guy, when your testosterone plummets, because you do also need a certain amount of carbohydrates in order to make testosterone. So when months later you start feeling like shit, and you're all like, oh, you know, like, that's when you're like, oh, you know, maybe I gotta eat some rice. Who would have thought? Who would have fucking thought? Aristotle had this this great idea. It's called the golden mean. It's like in between two extremes, in between two polar opposites, in between just two opposites, there lies somewhere in the middle the golden mean. And that is where the true answer lies. And we should all know this. This is valuable information for everyone, because, I mean, they're not going to teach you this, because if you get taught this, then you're not going to fall for the propaganda. You're not going to fall for the, well, I got to be on keto for the rest of my life. Or you're not going to fall for the, like, I don't know, like, oh, I'm an independent bitch, I don't need no man. Like, you're not going to fall for all this bullshit if you can actually critically think about what the information that's going into you. Do you understand me? I know I'm making sense, but do you understand me? It's a serious question. Do you understand me? Anyways, I don't think I have any, I mean, I probably do have more to say on it, but it's buried in the mind right now. It's buried somewhere deep in the mind. But I just have to get that off my chest. I feel like there's at least one person in the world who's listening to this and is like, yeah, this is what I need. Like, this is just exactly what I needed to hear at this very moment. And for you, my good friend, I bid you a good day. And for the rest of you, I bid you a good day. And for the rest of you that aren't even watching, that haven't tuned in, that haven't subscribed, that haven't even liked it, I bid you a good day.